It's October 4th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the Hangzhou Asian Games. South Korea wins a gold in the men's Team Go event after defeating China. The Korean squad is eyeing more gold medals today in the high jump and wrestling. Over in the U.S., the House votes to unseat Kevin McCarthy as Speaker over stopgap spending measure, the first such removal in congressional history. And in Bangkok of Thailand, a 14-year-old boy has been arrested after two people were killed in a shooting at a popular shopping mall. Local authorities say he appears to be suffering from mental illness. We begin in the U.S. The House of Representatives voted to oust its Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Now, this is the first time in history the chamber has dethroned its leader. Our political correspondent, Lee Si-hoo, starts us off. The motion to oust Kevin McCarthy, driven by a small group of right-wing Republicans, passed in a 216 to 210 vote, making him the first Speaker of the House to be ousted in a no-confidence vote. The motion to vacate the chair of the U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was introduced by Republican Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida.
Chaos is Speaker McCarthy. Chaos is somebody who we cannot trust with their word.
Despite opposing views and support for McCarthy, also a Republican.
And one thing Speaker McCarthy embraced from day one is to start making those kind of changes to this institution, opening up the process, allowing members to be more engaged, having amendments come to the floor, single subject bills, doing appropriations bills.
No clear successor has emerged yet, but Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina has assumed the role of Speaker pro tempore. The ouster was set in motion on Saturday when Mr. McCarthy averted a government shutdown by passing a short-term funding bill with the help of House Democrats before it passed the Senate and was signed by President Biden. The 45-day continuing resolution displeased some Republicans in the House who accused McCarthy of not doing enough to cut federal spending. The vacancy comes at a critical time when Congress has just a little over 40 days to avert another potential shutdown of the government. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News. This year's Nobel Prize for Physics was given to a trio of scientists who conducted experiments that created extremely short laser pulses, which they used to capture and study rapid processes inside atoms. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences announced Tuesday that it had awarded this year's Nobel Prize in Physics to three scientists.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the 2023 Nobel Prize in Physics in equal shares to Pierre Agostini, The Ohio State University, USA, Ferenc Krauss, Max Planck Institute for Quantenoptik, Garching, and Ludwig Maximilians Universität München, Germany, and Anne Luyer, Lund University, Sweden, for experimental methods that generate attosecond pulses of light for the study of electron dynamics in matter.
Their experiments created extremely short laser pulses that were used to capture and study rapid processes inside atoms, where an attosecond is a mere quintillionth of a second. Simply put, an attosecond is to a second what 1 second is to the age of the universe. Their work demonstrated that such short pulses can be used to study how electrons behave. As electrons move incredibly fast, in billionths of a second, they appear as blurs under the most advanced microscopes. However, through nanosecond physics, it will open a world of important processes inside atoms and molecules with sharper focus. Meanwhile, this year's Nobel Prize in Physics was all the more important as Anne Luyer became just the fifth woman in history to win the award. During a press conference on Tuesday, the Nobel Physics laureate stressed the importance of more women aiming to win the Nobel Prize, especially in physics, a subject where there is the least amount of women. The trio of Nobel Prize winners will also share the prize money of 11 million Swedish krona, or $991,000 US. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
A deadly shooting spree in a well-known shopping mall in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, has left at least 2 people dead. The police have arrested a 14-year-old suspect who they say had been receiving psychiatric treatment. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the details.
Hundreds of people scream and race into the streets in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, after gunshots rang out at a luxury mall. On Tuesday, a 14-year-old boy opened fire at CM Paragon Mall in the city's crowded tourist hotspot, killing at least 2 foreigners, both women, one from China and one from Myanmar. 5 others were also wounded. Shoppers recalled that the chaos happened in just a few minutes and multiple gunshots were heard.
I feel frightened. I never thought something like this was going to happen. I live pretty close to this place. Now I feel relief as the suspect has been arrested.
We see all the people run. We don't understand why it happened. And so we go after them. And after that we hear shots, various shots. And
various shots?
Very shots.
Like lots of shots?
Yes.
How many?
Like 6, 7 shots.
The teenage suspect was taken into custody after a police officer apprehended and handcuffed an individual lying face down on the floor at the mall. Little information is given about the suspect, who the police stress is very young and protected by the Child Protection Act, but told media that he had been receiving psychiatric treatment.
He's being treated for a mental illness at the Rajavithi hospital. He didn't take his medicine. He said he felt someone talk to him and told him to shoot someone. He felt like he had another personality.
While mass shootings are rare in Thailand, the incident marks the latest high-profile gun violence to rock the country. It comes a year after an ex-police officer killed 35 people. Lee Kyung-eun, Arirang News.
We're now into October, when North Korea has apparently vowed to launch its first ever spy satellite for the 3rd time of trying. Now, when exactly could that be? Let's discuss the issue more with Frank Januzzi this morning. It's good to have you back.
Nice to be back with you.
All right, there's speculation that the launch date may be October 10th. Why this day?
Well, October 10th is the Party Foundation Day, a time when the North Koreans typically celebrate the anniversary of the founding of the Korean Worker Party. So it is a day that often is marked with parades, celebrations. It's a national holiday in North Korea, second only to the birthday for Kim Il-sung and the birthday for Kim Jong-il. So it is an opportune moment for the country to try, as it has promised to do, to launch a satellite. But it would not surprise me if that date slipped, because all will depend on the technical readiness of the North Koreans to try once again to put a satellite into orbit.
Right, they must be very mindful considering it's going to be their 3rd attempt. Now, if it's not October 10th, then what are other possible dates? Is it the later the better, after the Hangzhou Asian Games maybe?
Well, you raise a good point. North Korea does take into account often the potential conflicting dates on the diplomatic calendar. So if they have a high-level visitor, for instance, like the Russian foreign minister who's planning to come to North Korea in October, and if they fail to meet the October 10th planned launch date, they may well delay it for several weeks. But it's really impossible for us to predict, certainly. All we know for sure is that they are determined to try again, and that just as Kim Jong-un pledged when the second satellite launch attempt failed in August, they will try again until they get it right.
Right, but they will also notify the international community before they go for the 3rd attempt, right? Like they did during the last 2 occasions.
It seems very likely that they will go by the protocol of announcing the launch, and the reason is quite simple. They're trying to avoid any form of major international condemnation, especially any new sanctions or punitive measures coming out of the UN. And although they can count on China and Russia in all likelihood, to block any new sanctions. Nonetheless, they want to give their Chinese and Russian friends every excuse to say to the world, hey, this was just a peaceful satellite launch. It was not a test of outlawed ballistic missile technology. So I do expect that they will notify the international community about the launch, including any potential flight restrictions or naval exclusion areas.
Now, that leads to my next question. How likely is it that Russia has already shared its space technology to help the North actually succeed in its third launch attempt?
I think it's very unlikely that the Russians have already provided such assistance. But your question brings to mind what happened in the 1990s when China suffered a series of embarrassing launch failures, and an American company, Loral Hughes, provided technical support to help the Chinese figure out what was going wrong. That support did not take the form of any hardware. It was really just engineering advice. And of course, as it turned out, the American company violated some export controls by providing that expert engineering guidance. And it is possible that Russian engineers may already be studying what went wrong in the first two launches and might be preparing some advice for their North Korean colleagues. But I rather doubt that they are far along that path right now.
So you're saying the analysis may have been done already, but the sharing of the actual technology is yet to be done. That's why maybe the Russian foreign minister is going to Pyongyang early this month for talks with his North Korean counterpart, Choi Sun-hui, right?
Yes, indeed. Foreign Minister Lavrov, in meeting with Foreign Minister Che, is engaging with the top sort of worldview person in Pyongyang. I have met Foreign Minister Che on several occasions, and she will use this meeting to become better informed herself about Russia's situation in Ukraine, to become more deeply informed about the world situation as viewed by Moscow. But importantly, she will also be pursuing all forms of deeper cooperation with Russia, whether that takes the form of energy assistance, technology, food aid, or other technical support that the North Korean government would like to get from Russia in exchange, perhaps, for North Korea providing ammunition and logistical support to the Russian military in pursuit of their war against Ukraine.
Sure. Russian authorities actually confirmed over the weekend that Putin's visit to Pyongyang is not exactly decided, or in terms of the date, it's yet to be decided. Maybe Putin's visit to North Korea could top the agenda this time.
Indeed. President Putin has said that he has accepted, in principle, the invitation to visit Pyongyang. But such a trip would require, I suspect, certainly weeks, if not months of planning, and would have to be adapted to the Russian schedule. Vladimir Putin is facing a variety of challenges at home and abroad. And so a trip to Pyongyang, while important for Russia, cannot be the top issue on his agenda right now. So I expect it may take several months before that trip is realized. But I do expect that Putin will appear in Pyongyang in the not too distant future. And that relationship will likely continue to grow, if only because North Korea is so isolated from other potential partners. They really need whatever support they can get from Russia right now.
Definitely. All right. It looks like the month of October is going to be just as busy as September on the diplomatic front. Thank you so much for your insight this morning. You have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Seoul's top office says the Yoon administration will focus on boosting the local economy and stabilizing people's livelihoods in the fourth quarter of this year. Presidential spokesperson Lee Do-eun said Tuesday that during the Chuseok holiday, President Yoon had made a series of on-site visits to venues that are related to people's livelihoods and exports. He said the government plans to continue supporting the country's export recovery until the end of the year and follow up on Saudi Arabia and the UAE's pledges to invest invest in South Korea, which is likely to create high-quality local jobs. With the cost of living and transport expected to rise on the back of rising energy prices, he said the government will manage price levels and real estate policies to bring about tangible outcomes. Now, Japan is gearing up to release the second batch of the Fukushima wastewater as early as tomorrow. It'll be a similar amount as the first discharge, which ended about 3 weeks ago. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
Japan is reportedly getting ready to release a second batch of wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant on Thursday. The Tokyo Electric Power Company will take a small amount of contaminated water, which has been diluted with seawater, and test the level of a radioactive substance called tritium. Then, if the level is below a safety limit, the release will begin as planned. The first release, which began on August 24th until September 11th, saw 7,788 tons of contaminated water released into the sea. TEPCO plans to release a similar amount this time too. It will take around 17 days with 460 tons released each day. China banned all Japanese seafood imports after the first release, and Russia is also considering following suit. TEPCO on Monday started receiving reports of reputational damage from the Japanese fishing industry related to compensation for foreign import bans. The Nikkei Shimbun in Tokyo estimates the economic losses to be around $66 million. The Tokyo metropolitan government will run a promotion from October 27th to December 8th, offering people up to 1,000 yen, approximately $6 in points, if they dine on seafood at sushi restaurants and fishy stores within the city. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
The Busan International Film Festival officially kicks off today. Park Eun-bin is set to host the 28th edition of the event, marking the first time a woman will compare the opening ceremony alone. Now, the 10-day event will also showcase stars such as Korean actor Song Kang-ho and Chinese actor Cha Yun-fat and actress Fan Bingbing. Leading off the festival will be Because I Hate Korea, a film based on the novel of the same name by author Jang Kang-myung, screened at the main theater of the Busan Cinema Center. A total of 269 movies will be screened at 4 theaters across the city. And with the rise of streaming services, BIF will also give out awards to movies shown exclusively on platforms such as Netflix and Disney+, among others. Now, some people can eat a lot of fattening foods without gaining weight. Korean and South Korean researchers analyzed this and developed a drug that may help others with weight loss. Our Tonganju has the details.
These mice gained weight after eating a high-fat diet and are larger than regular mice. Conversely, these other mice also ate a high-fat diet but did not gain weight. Comparing their weights, the latter were half as heavy. This came from daily administering a new drug developed by South Korean researchers.
The weight of the mice receiving the drug decreased by around 35% and was similar to that of mice on a regular diet.
The researchers targeted an obesity-suppressing switch in the brain called GABRA5. Located in the lateral hypothalamus of the brain, GABRA5 is a cluster of nerve cells connected to fat cells throughout the body. When GABRA5 is active, the buildup of fat within the body is suppressed. When its activity weakens, the opposite occurs. The researchers found that star-shaped cells in the brain secreted an enzyme called MAO-B. MAO-B then synthesized a neurotransmitter, GABA, to turn off the obesity-suppressing switch. When they administered KDS-2010, a MAO-B inhibitor they developed, the switch was turned on, thereby suppressing obesity. This is the first time researchers have shown the exact mechanism of how the brain is involved in fat metabolism.
Originally developed as a treatment for Alzheimer's, we believe it can be administered orally with minimal side effects and almost no rebound effect.
Clinical phase 1 trials to observe side effects of KDS-2010 in humans are currently underway. Phase 2 trials will be conducted from 2024 to determine if the drug produces weight loss in humans. Tonganju, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn our attention to the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou, China. We begin with Go, where South Korea's men's team on Tuesday clinched its second straight gold medal after beating China. Now, the medal comes 13 years after Go was last played at the Asian Games in 2010 in Guangzhou, China. Now, the win came hours after the women's won silver on the same day. The Mind Sport is a strategy board game where players try to surround more territory than their opponent. It's widely known as Paduk in Korea. Team Korea will now have its eyes set on winning more golds in wrestling and high jump events, which are scheduled for later today. Moving on to track and field, where South Korea on Tuesday won bronze in the 4x100-meter relay, marking its first medal in 37 years for the event at the Asian Games. Now, the team composed of Lee Jong-tae, Kim Gu-kyung, Lee Jae-sung and Go Seung-won finished right ahead of Thailand with a time of 38.74 seconds, a new national record. China took gold and Japan won silver. More athletics events are scheduled up until Saturday. A favorite will be the high jump event scheduled for Wednesday, where South Korean medal contender Woo Sang-hyuk is set to participate. Moving on to baseball now, South Korea is through to the next stage in the Asian Games after thrashing Thailand 17-0 on Tuesday. Now, the win means that South Korea was able to finish second in the preliminary stages in Group B with a 2-1 record. This after losing 4-0 to Chinese Taipei the previous day. Now, Chinese Taipei finished top of the group. Both teams are now set to face off against the top two teams from Group A in what's known as the Super Round. In this round, the results from the preliminary stages are carried over, which means that South Korea will begin with a 0-1 disadvantage. Winners from the Super Round will advance to the gold medal event, which is slated for Saturday. And finally, South Korea's women's handball team is through to the final after beating host country China on Tuesday, 30-23. Now, the first half was tightly contested, with South Korea eking out a small lead at 15-14. But they widened the margin in the second half, helped by a strong defense. South Korea have dominated the sport at the Asian Games since 1990, winning the gold medal 7 of 8 times. They'll be playing for their 8th gold on Thursday against Japan. Now, the teams last met in the semi-finals in 2010 in Guangzhou, China, where Japan narrowly won 29-28. And now for a look at the medal standings and the upcoming schedule.
Good morning. The air outside feels nothing like a week ago. It has gotten so much chillier over the holiday, and areas near the mountainous regions are waking up to an almost early winter-like morning. Then there will be light rain in central regions today, 5 to 20 millimeters in the forecast, along with thunder and lightning. But the skies will remain sunny with high UV rays until the rain falls. We could be seeing spotty rain in the capital at around 7 p.m., but not enough to carry around an umbrella. Seoul and Chuncheon will be going up to 23 degrees Celsius, Daegu, Gyeongju topping out at 25 degrees. Today's rain will bring chillier air to central parts of the country. Seoul wakes up to 10 degrees tomorrow and 9 degrees on Friday. Mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could see some frost, but temperatures will return to the norms on the weekend, while Jeju Island is forecast to see rainfall. The rest of the country, though, will have promising weather for the upcoming 3-day weekend. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Thursday's edition at the same time.